D Wade, I think you're a phenomenal basketball player. You've accomplished a lot. But I think your greatest accomplishment is the way you've embraced your child wanting to transition. That's not an easy thing to do because we all have, if you have a daughter, you have an idea of what you think your daughter was going to be and what you want her to become.
1,000.
If you have a son, you have an idea of what you want, especially if you play sports. I want my son to play sports, be a doctor. If I'm a doctor, I want my son to be a doctor, lawyer, yada, yada, yada. But for you to embrace Zaya, to embrace her journey, how did you come to, because obviously you had to sit down and you had a conversation. She comes to you and she sits down and she says, Dad, this is how I'm feeling. This is how I'm thinking. And you say what?
Well, it's not my journey. Like I'm not that selfish. I can't make your journey in your life about me.
Okay.
Right? Like I just can't do that.
Right.
Like, yes. And I was telling someone this the other day. When Zaya was born, she was born May 29th, which is Carmelo's birthday.
Right.
So, if y'all go look at it, I have Zaya, LeBron has Bryce, Melo has Cayenne. All within about a 2-3 week span. All our kids gonna grow up hooping together.
Right.
Oh, we
That's
on.
what you thinking, yeah.
Well, we gonna have 3, baby.
Yeah.
We on.
Yeah.
So yeah, like obviously, I had a boy, I had another boy. That was my second boy in a row. I'm like, okay, this is what we do. We're hooping family, right? And see what happens when you start making plans for other people's lives.
Right. That's her journey.
That's her journey.
But you played it out. You played it.
Oh, you couldn't tell me we weren't gonna be on the circuit right now, baby. We hooping. We got Wade in the back. You got the wear Wade's on. We doing it too.
Right.
Then I got to meet my child, and a lot of people like to talk about Zaya's transition. To me, Zaya hasn't transitioned into anything. She's but a kid, and now going into young adult. I've watched her go through life. It hasn't been no transition for us.
Right.
It's been a transition for the world, but for us, I see the same kid that I've seen since May 29th, 2007.
Right.
Nothing has changed.
Did you know, were there signs?
Yeah.
Did she? Because, boys can play with trucks, girls play with dogs, girls dress up, boys do this. So you saw signs at a very early age that he's not like what I'm thinking a boy should be or what I was when I was that age.
Yeah, I mean, think about this. I mean, you in the locker room, I'm in the locker room. Right? We ignite. I'm gonna say ignite. And so I come from a culture of men throwing around the F word.
Yes, absolutely.
Throwing around the gay word.
Yes.
Just like it's hi, bye, right? Just throwing it around.
Right.
And so I have a child at home that we're basketball, baseball, we're doing what you do.
Right.
Hey, let's play this. I have a child at home that's like, I don't want that. I want to go, Dad, I want to take dance lessons. Oh, okay, well, let's go to dance. I have a child at home. When I come home, she got the shirt wrapped around her head like it's like long hair. I got a child at home that I'm watching wear certain things that's different than what I would buy for my son. Right. And so this is at 3 years old. So I'm in my home, my wife and I, we have a conversation about it.
Right.
And for me, instead of walking in and say, "Hey, stop that shit, cut that shit," like like people try to do, they try to stop you when you're doing something for you that they don't like. Right. So instead of me walking in the room and say, "Stop that shit," it was my job to sit back and say, "Okay, let's have a conversation with Zaya and let's see where this goes."
Right.
And so my first conversation with her was about, hey, understanding what you like to wear and how you like to be in the house.
Right.
Outside of this house, they're not ready for that.
Right.
Right? I don't even know if we were ready for that.
Right.
And so we slowly just let her be who she wanted to be in our home. Be who you want to be in our home, and we're going to watch and we're going to learn along this journey. Because at that moment, I think, and the thing that's a blessing in my life is that I got with my wife at the time I got with my wife because it exposed me to the world.
Right.
It exposed me to friends. I have some of my best friends are Jason and Adair, who everybody knows he's my stylist, Jason.
Right.
His husband is Adair.
Right.
I got a chance to be exposed to them early. And we all have our thoughts about like how we perceive people who, are gay.
Right.
Or who are
right.
man and man
right.
married. If it's woman and woman, we like that. But if it's man and man, we have our perception.
Right.
So I got a chance to spend time with him, be around him, a vacation with him, all this and that. And I'm like, what? this perception that I had.
Right.
It's not even a question in my mind. Those are my friends.
Right.
I don't look at them.
I don't look at any other.
They're married. They love each other.
Right.
They argue like we argue.
Right.
All the same
Right.
thing. Nothing. So
And that's their life. I ain't living nobody else's life.
So I had experience.
Right.
And so in the midst of that experience through the world, because I was out of my community, I was out of what my uncles and my dad and everybody knew, and they told me.
Yeah, man.
I'm now looking at the world and I'm looking at my child. And so I got a chance to watch my child 9 years before the world even heard about Zaya.
Right.
So when everyone started telling me what my child is, I'm like, how you gonna?
I've been here the whole while.
And I talk to my child. Do you talk to my child? Because I do.
Right.
And so I sat down and talked to my child about, as she was growing up, about the things she wanted.
Right.
And I tried to make sure that the things that she wanted, what she would work hard at, was presented to her, not what I wanted.
Right.
And that's the problem with us, is we're gonna, and I would like to say this, because of the NBA, or because of my basketball talents, and because of all these things, I've been put in a position where I actually could wait and allow my kids to grow up, and I don't have to say, hey, I need help with these bills.
Right.
Hey, you got to do this.
Right.
You got to be that. Because some communities, some households, they have to do that because of their circumstances.
Right.
We don't have time to figure out who you want to be and what you want to do.
Right.
We had that time.
Figure it out on your time.
Figure it out on your time, right? And then now you get kids who's later in their life, they didn't have the relationship with their parents early on because their parents had to make them, whatever the culture was, whatever the time was. Our time was different.
Right.
So we had an opportunity to sit back and say, you know what? I don't want all my kids to be exactly the same.
Right.
Anyway.
Right.
So you know what? My 3-year-old son at this time, Zion, let me see what Zion want to do.
Right.
And slowly but surely, Zaya started growing, and we started watching.
She's been unwavering.
Ain't not a second of this is Zaya. Like that's why, it's funny to me. I'm like, in the world, I'm like, everybody on the outside got something to say, and the inside, we talking about school. We talking about like I sit down with my child. We talk about, hey, okay, so the doctor said this. What do we got to do? Let's talk about your health. Let's talk about what the future look like.
Right.
I'm talking about real life things.
Right.
Because everybody on the outside got a perception.
You ain't talking about that gossip.
Because the gossip is we all the same.
Right.
Tell me, let's go into all these communities in LA and you're going to see everybody's different.
Right.
Everyone lives different. Everyone is different. Everyone loves different.
Right.
So because I'm an athlete and because, I had a boy at birth, y'all expect that this boy's supposed to do X, Y, Z. Just like Zaire had expectations. Y'all expect him to be an NBA superstar because I had him and blah, blah, blah. So everyone else on the outside have the expectations of my family and my kids.
Right.
How are you going to have expectations of my family and my kids when I'm still learning, I'm still
You still trying to figure it out?
I'm trying to figure it out because I didn't grow up in this environment.
Right. Right.
And so let me check myself.
Right.
Because if I make it about me, I'm going to have a kid that's going to go through life, that's going to be miserable, that's going to go through life. I think the statistics on kids, especially in the transgender community, when it comes to suicide, is very high.
Correct.
Right. When you're not seen.
Right.
When you're not seen just as a person who get up every day and work hard and grind, you got a problem with it.
Right.
Right? You got a problem when no one sees you. So if I got a kid in my house that I can't see and I don't take time to look at and see, then this kid is going to feel unloved and unwanted. From the father whose mother, you guys know my situation with my ex-wife is very public.
Right.
It's very public and very nasty.
Right.
I'm the parent in the house. I have to see you.
Right.
I have to hear you.
Right.
And so my child and I have a very open, honest, straightforward, right between the eyes relationship about the journey, who you are, what you're experiencing, because I don't know.
Right.
Because I've never experienced that, and it was never shown to me that it was, hey.
It was okay.
It was never presented to me. And so being in the position that I'm in as a father, it's my job to be able to say, okay, everybody, I don't want y'all commenting on my life. I don't want y'all commenting on my daughter's gender, my daughter's sexuality. That's not what I want. But because we're public figures, and because I know it's other kids in the world like Zion, there's other dads in the world like me, and it will be forever.
Right.
Because we all are not the same.
Right.
Then I share a little bit of her journey, a little bit of our journey.
Right.
Because we're both going on this journey that neither one of us knew we would be on.
Right.
Right? Like this entire journey.
Right.
And so I think about the safety of my kid.
Right.
I think about the safety of other kids in the trans community. I think about, how the world is trying to hush and exile an entire community like you do not exist.
Right.
As black people, do we know about that?
Yeah, we do.
Damn right we do.
Right.
And we the main ones that are talking about the trans community. We the main ones that won't open and accept and we want the world to accept us. Like, what are we doing?
Right.
And so I'm playing a different playing field than most people who comment on my life, because I understand the position that I'm in. A lot of black families in the communities, they don't see or hear, they don't get a chance to hear these stories from us. They don't get a chance to see these things from us. And so, yeah, I'm sure to a lot of people I look crazy.
Right.
I don't care about looking crazy to y'all. I care about making sure that I'm there for my kids.
How difficult is it not to have the support of the other parent with what Zaya is going through? And I think the thing is that probably what Zaya wants most is for her parents to understand the journey that she's chose to embark upon and be accepting of that journey that she's embarking upon. And you have accepted it, jumped on this thing with both feet, but it seems like she's getting some resistance from her mother.
Yeah.
Is that difficult for you? Because you see it's hurting the child.
Yeah, it's difficult. It's difficult for me, so I can't even imagine what it's like for her.
Does she talk to you about it? Does she have a relationship with her mom?
She has whatever relationship that she wants to have, I assume. She's 16 years old.
Yeah.
And, she's getting older. And so, the relationship is controlled by phones now. Her mother doesn't live here.
Right.
She lives in my home.
But you don't force Zaya to pick up the phone and call her mom. You don't force the mom to call. Because, sometimes, kids like, did you call your dad? My daughter came to live with me. My oldest daughter came to stay with me. And her mom would get into it. You know how women get into it. And she'd go days without calling. I said, no, we're not going to do that. Pick up the phone and call you. Mm-hmm. Whatever you got going on, no matter how you mad at her, she's mad at you, we're not going to do that. Mm-hmm. You don't do that.
They don't have that relationship. That's a different relationship. It got to be both ways. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And you're talking about a kid like Zaya's. She's way advanced. She's way above what everybody thinks she is.
Right.
You're talking about a kid who has experienced something that I don't even know about when it comes to the relationship that she's had to try to have with her mother. Mm-hmm. She's been living with me since she was 2.5, 3 years old.
Right.
And as I had said very openly, like, my ex-wife ain't involved, ain't a part of all this.
Right.
And so what I will do is I will give credit to my wife, who has stepped in and stepped up.
Took it on that role
and become a figure. Not a mother. That's not her mom. You know what I mean? I know it's titled stepmom, bonus moms.
Right.
She's become a consistent figure in her life.
Right.
And as a woman who they can have conversations, talk about things that I just can't help her with.
Right. Okay.
In the midst of all of what's going on. Like, I only know what I know, and I only know what questions I can go out and ask.
Right.
But they have different conversations that I can't. It's different trust.
Right.
So, I remember watching my dad step up and be a stepdad. And I just knew there was a lot of other kids around. I didn't know really what it meant.
Right.
But that's a heroic position to be in, to step in to someone else's child.
Yeah.
And become an important figure in their lives.
Yeah.
And she has been in this journey, because I would be lost if it was just me and Zaya out here on this journey.
Right.
And so to be able to have not only my wife, to be able to have our community.
Right.
It allows us to be able to go through all this feeling like we have armor.
You might be the biggest, Zaya and yourself might be the biggest advocate for the trans community because who you are.
Yeah.
And you can put someone famous because, like you said, they're hurried. Like, man, nobody knows who you guys are. Nobody even cares about you. But you give it a face. You give it a name. Yeah. Let me ask you this, D-Wade. I mean, because like you said, you had Zaya since she was 2.5, and Zaire, your oldest son. How was it being in the NBA and being a single parent?
Well, I mean, first of all, my community is large.
Right.
It's not nothing I ever, I didn't get divorced and be like, yo, let me get them kids.
Yeah.
No, I was like, let me get in these streets.
Get in these streets.
Get in these Miami streets. Let me get out and get in these Miami.
These Miami nights are like that.
What? I got, what? The 2 kids at the crib?
Hey, mama.
Yeah.
You free tonight?
It changed everything. And for me, man, I wrote a book about it.
Right.
How my life became bigger than basketball. Because at that moment when I had to fight for custody, because it became, I had to fight for custody, because it wasn't just, hey, joint custody, let's raise these kids.
Right.
It became, for me, it was like, okay, what's the most important thing in your life? Is basketball more important than your kids?
For you to get them, D-Wade, you're an NBA player, you're a professional athlete. For the judge to say, nah, the kid's going with him, do you know what that means?
Oh, I know. I know.
Yeah.
I dealt with it all.
I've dealt with y'all. Hey, for a father to get custody of the kids is not an easy task.
It's not, and I mean, it's a lot of things I can say about that. But I'm very thankful that I did get custody at the time I did, especially being Zaya's father. It would have been a way different journey
Yeah,
for Zaya
because it
I
seems
was-
like your ex is not as accepting of her situation as you are.
my ex don't live in my world neither. She don't live in our world.
Right.
You don't understand?
So she doesn't understand. She's not around. She's not exposed
Yeah.
to, like you said, your stylist and her husband and his husband, and some of the community that you've been exposed to since Zaya has undertaken this transition, this
travel
journey.
the world, Shannon. I go everywhere. I go to communities all around the world. I see difference in everywhere and everybody.
Right.
I see different ways that husband and wife live. And it's so many different ways.
Yeah, I'm vibing. I don't care what you do. I'm vibing. You cool? Husband, you cool? We cool. You on some F stuff? I'm on some F stuff too. I'm a vibe.
Right. So if she's not exposed to the life that I've been able to be
Right.
exposed, it's a lot of people that I know that's not exposed. Now they become accepting of it because the love for me, my family, Zaya, or just because they feel like they need to be just to stay in the fold. But when it comes to how I'm able to love and accept from what I learned growing up, is because of my experiences and where I've been, and
Right.
people that I've been able to get connected to. If you
Right.
don't, if you haven't been able to do that,
Right.
if your passport ain't stamped, if your relationships ain't larger than the ones you grew up with in your community,
Right.
you're gonna stay at a certain level of thinking and how it should be.
Right.
The world looks so different
Right.
than it did when I grew up in Robbins, Illinois.
Right.
And so the world is colorful, man. It's
Right.
beautiful. It's unique.
Right.
And my daughter's a part of that colorful, beautiful, unique world. And so why not embrace her? Just like I want to be accepted, I want to be embraced.
Right.
Right? Like
Right.
we all want to be embraced and accepted for who we are.
Right.
And so when I look at my daughter, I look at someone just like me that's trying to be accepted, that's trying to learn, that's trying to grow, that's trying to exist
Right.
in this world. And I don't look at gender. I don't look at sexuality. I don't look at her choices and how she want to be. When them doors close, I don't want to know what you do.
Right. That's
She don't want to know what we do.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And so it's my job to make sure along this journey as she's growing up that I sit with her. I have conversations with her doctor about, hey, how does this journey affect my daughter? How does it affect her mind? How does it affect her physical? How does whatever it is?
Right.
I need to learn instead of sitting there like, nah, you ain't
Don't do that.
Why would I do that? Why would I? She gonna get to her life real soon. She'll be 18.
Right.
20, it's happening. So why would I stunt your growth as a human being while you're living under my roof when I
Right.
know one day you're gonna be able to do what you want to do? So this is what you want to do. You want to play sports. You want to dance. You want to do this. Let me help you
Right.
do it because we have resources.
Right.
We have people we can contact. We have people that that can open up doors.
Right.
And so for me, man, it's parenting is not making you in my likeness.
Right.
You look like me. That's enough.
That's it.
But you're not me.
Right.
And so I got to get to know you. And a lot of parents either don't want to do it because that's actually been a
Right.
parent.
Right.
Can't do it because of circumstances.
Right.
Can't do it because of, once again, circumstance of how community going to look at you.
Right.
How the man going to look at you at work.
Right.
I understand the journey. I understand that everyone can't just be accepted and open arms about it. I get it.
We're good.
But also in the midst of just understand that you're stunning the growth of your kids. We have a small window of when we have an impact on our kids' lives.
Right. Okay.
Right, small impact, a small
Right.
window that's ending in my life was She's turning 16.
Right.
Yeah, as we go on, I'll still be, but that impact and that voice that I
But she
have.
ain't gonna be up under your roof. She'll be out on her own, and then
So what am I teaching her? What lessons
Right.
I'm teaching her about the world that she's going out in?
Right.
That the world only looks this way? No, baby. The world is unique. The world is colorful. So my daughter she's going on this world and she's finding people that looks like her, that talks like her, that has the same dreams as her, the same thoughts as her, just
Right.
like I did in the NBA. I found people that was connected with me.
Right.
And that was my community. And so it's just a different community than
Right.
me. And I just look at it different, man.
I just wish they'd stop talking about our son like there's something wrong with him.
You hear all these things, and you look at your kid and you just want to keep him safe and see him happy, and some of these people just want to make that impossible.
And I tell you, I bet none of them have met an actual trans kid. They make up this boogeyman, like there's some danger that has to be stopped. When the only real danger is us losing our children. But if they would just pause for a second and get to know some of these kids, maybe they would see what we see. Our babies growing up and changing, telling us who they are and who they want to be in the world. Isn't that what we all want for our kids? Doesn't every single child deserve the right to become their own person? To shine their own light? Because I don't see the harm in that, but I do see the harm in trying to block it.
They're pretty great.
Yeah, trans kids are absolute magic. And once you give them permission to just shine, they light up a room. The inverse is also true, of course, when you try to force them to be something that they're not.
Tell me how you're holding up.
Look, I'm going to tell you something, because I think if you don't hear it from me, then you might not notice it in time for someone else. When I was a kid, I tried to take my own life. I mean, I was a child. I wasn't even 13. And I think on the outside, everything it seemed okay. You know, I was a smart kid, came from a loving family. But I was alone, sort of just floating in this gray space while everybody else was in black and white. And when the entire world just keeps telling you over and over again that people like you are not worthy, eventually you start to believe it.
You are so worthy.
I know. Oh, I know. My story, it isn't special. Statistics say that 1 in 5 trans kids attempt suicide. I was one of the lucky ones, you know. I had a lifeline. I had the coding club. And for Gia, that is obviously basketball.